I don't have anything too crazy or too long for you guys today. I just kind of had two inquiries about the latest chapter that I want to talk about, and gauge your guys' opinion on it, and see if I was off. If I'm off on that, you can tell me if you think I'm tripping. But before that, like the video, subscribe. Hit the bell down so the Ghost of 13 Months series doesn't get you and you can stay notified. Check the description so you know what intros I use, where to find me on Twitter. My Discord is there. If you want to support me on PayPal and or Patreon, definitely check those out. And yeah. So the Yama's talking about the pit bulls, three Yama mad dogs, the mad dogs, or what was the other name they had? Fighting dogs, depending on what translation you go by. I thought that was a interesting little monologue he had there, and Jinsung's talk about humanity with Traumerei was interesting in his own right. So let's talk about how we feel about that and what we think.
It don't matter though. Young nigga from Canada, brought from that bullshit and go like a matador.
So for anyone who is unaware, the kind of story of Baylord, the cage, Yama and his lineage, and Yama and his story is different from what SIU had originally planned. If you knew about what he had said in his blog post earlier before, it was actually kind of related to another Slayer called Mort. Now, I think what we got with the Baylord brothers is great, and it works, and how it ties into Yas, Ratchet, and Wang Wang, and Nen and all those things. I actually think that while I do think that the Mort storyline in conceptually sounded a lot better, I can't be sure that the execution would have been, so I'll take what I can get here. And it seems like maybe the kind of concept and idea of the Mad Dogs have changed a little bit from initial conception. So let's kind of talk about what he says here. And I'm going to be using the Line Webtoons translation. I tend to, for any series that I care about, I would read multiple translations. Truth be told, I tend not to like the official ones. And I think that Line is very bad at translating other languages. I've actually seen this with a couple of stuff that, because I speak French, so I can even attest to some of the stuff that's in French. I'm like, how did you even butcher it to this degree? Because our language has a lot more overlap and commonalities than like Korean and English would have. But I digress. Let's talk about this. Sorry for the tangent. Hey, yes, Ratchet, can you do me a favor? What is it? If you're going to ask me for help, don't bother, blah, blah. Well, it's something like that. The thing is, I use some of my own blood to create canines called the Mad Dog. So we know about what? Vagarov. I think his name is Bulasar Elliot. And there's one unnamed one that we don't know. And they were all accompanied by like an angel or Aran May, whatever the case is, right? They all have something in common. They lose control of themselves and charge at enemies blindly when they're enraged. They literally turn into mad dogs. That's why I assigned some people to keep them under control. So consistent with what we know, like to some degree. And we do know that Bagarov had some weird like awakening in the beginning of the third season when he fought with Bam, and Bam's like, the blood Tamara is not going to help you here, right? So there's a mad dog that's broken free of my command and learned to control his madness himself. I want to say it's Bagarov, but I want to safely say it's probably the one we haven't seen, because with that character, SIU can do whatever he wants with it. He doesn't have to particularly adhere to any one idea, and he can mold him how he wants. And the longer he holds back his madness, the more powerful he is when he finally releases it. I haven't had to control myself often in life, but I'm sure I can do it too. I get a similar feeling when someone wakes me up from a deep sleep. It's like a sudden burst of power. So he's like, so Yash was like, so my brother and I discussed an idea of using the gates, blah blah. It's like, would that work? Basically, I'm not sure, but the family head won't destroy the warp gate if he wants to get back to the battleship. And it basically says I need to stop blocking the attack for a minute so we can focus and unleash that power. I think that's interesting. I don't know what to do with that though. Like, that is something that I would argue kind of came out of nowhere. Like, that completely caught me off guard, and I thought it was a little bit jarring to just be like, oh, by the way, like, I can kind of like store madness and unleash it in a crazy capacity, and some of the other mad dogs also have that because of the blood that I gave them is my blood. And if I remember correctly, blood fusion to the literal degree is supposed to be illegal, but maybe I'm off on that. Don't quote me on that part. But I just thought that this was a very out of nowhere kind of random statement, and I don't know if it's particularly consistent with what I thought the Mad Dogs were and some of the things that we thought about Yama in the cage. So let me know what you guys think about it, because it threw me for a loop. I'll be honest. I was like, what do I do with this? And I don't know what to make of it, but I think, is this the chapter where he yes, it is. I do believe so. I think later on when he kind of uses his power, it looks really cool. Like, this is amazing. Like, I'm trying to find that one panel where he's like, both his arms are like complete canine transformation or whatever the case may be. He looked incredibly menacing. I loved it. I'm trying to find it. Sorry. There it is. Just saw it. This right here. This is scary. This is raw. This is menacing. So, at the very least, it looks really cool. Now for the technician, the grandson of Haigh-Rankers. What was he talking about? Now, the translation that I used before, I think, was actually really bad and wonky, so it made things a little more complicated, but this one I think is a lot easier to digest, so let me read it and we'll talk. Lord Traumerei may be considered an enemy of the family for joining F.U.G, but I don't deny the prestige and the might of the 10 great family leaders. Of course, that's why I aspire to be a family head myself, but not because I look down on you family heads. You may be powerful and have the ability to control all of creation, but I still think the gods place a certain restriction on you, and that restriction is humanity. The laws of the tower dictate that humans must live according to their own will, and I know that not even the family heads can do anything about that. So please, Lord Traumerei, if nothing else, at least respect Bam's humanity. And please don't interfere with people's right to choose their own life. Is that what you think? Fine. Now, I find that as like who told you that? Like, that's what you think? Like, that's interesting. Like almost like he doesn't even buy what he's saying. But again, this is kind of another statement that I think comes out of nowhere. That I'm like, what is he talking about? And I do find Traumerei entertaining the idea to be maybe a personality quirk of him, so I won't get into that. I'll stay on topic. But do you guys think that these two statements kind of came out of nowhere? And what the problem that we're having is in the face of insurmountable power, right? A family head is here, and I am actually feeling the tension. I don't want to take that away. I actually think this is a very, very dangerous situation for everybody. But a lot of times when a lot of characters can't do anything against a very, very strong foe, I would argue this is consistent in video games, comic books, webtoons, manga, movies, whatever the case is. So think of like, if anyone's like a big Marvel fan or something, think of someone like Galactus. Or if you want Thanos with all the Infinity Stones, right? And it's like, to get the main cast to be able to beat them, something contrived tends to happen. What I notice with a lot of Eastern storytelling, when you have a very powerful character like a Traumerei or something, you kind of have to do a lot of weird nonsense so they don't just kind of murder everybody. And one of the things they do is they give them a mental or personality defect or quirk. So Traumerei's like, I don't bother with trifle. So even though they're running around doing a bunch of nonsense, he's ignoring them because his focus is on Bam. And he seems to not really care about their opinions. And then like, if you like One Piece, think of like Big Mom's hunger pangs or Kaido's over excessive drinking. Like, those are things you kind of implement into the character to kind of give them a personality flaw so they don't just kind of wipe the floor with everybody. And I wonder if SIU is kind of fallen into that situation and trapped to some degree here, which is making it a little bit difficult for him to like have Traumerei be here and not completely dominate and just kind of kill everybody. But I want to know what you guys think. Maybe I'm tripping and I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Let me know what you thought about Yama's line and what it could mean. If it's important, and will it tie into other things later? And this whole humanity thing. Because what I personally found the most weird, the weirdest thing about his statement is Irregulars, in my opinion, are immune to the laws and rules of the tower. That is the thing that I argue makes them very dangerous. It's not necessarily just that they're just OD strong. I think they're OD strong because they don't have to play by the same set of rules as other people. The analogy I used in another video before was soccer. Imagine everybody has to abide by the rules, and I, an irregular, can just pick the ball up like Waluigi in like Strikers or something, like the older one, Charge, not the newest one, and just run. It's gonna be very hard to stop me because I don't play by the same rules that you guys are playing. So again, if I'm tripping, let me know. Like, subscribe, hit the bell on. Didn't have anything too crazy for you guys today, but I've been wondering about that. It's been on my mind. I won't lie to you because I thought both of those statements came kind of out of nowhere. You feel me? Patreon gang. I want to say thank you to my certified BAM lovers. You know, the Brillet gang out here. Gotta say thank you to the Priest of Fire, but especially the Fifth Zen God. Shout out to Sunny Katapali, Simi, Shout Out to Your Body, Scobe, Revenant, Miles, Lucky Roo, Chris, Cayenne, Irene Sharda, Triss, David Langstaff, Childish Nujabes, Bloody Winters, Alan, and my boy Abdel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you.